Good evening, ducks and Final Fantasy Randomizer enthusiasts all over. It is Duckling Bootcamp Class 104. Tonight we got Entrance and Town Shuffle. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I am Saracen. I am joined by special guest commentator Dead Pulse. How the heck you doing, man?
Oh, hello, fam. Hey, it's going good. How about you? Loving this snow.
Right. Here's hoping it takes out some mosquito larvae. So let's talk about some entrance and town shuffle stuff, huh? I think this is a very exciting flag set. It's good entertainment. Starting off, we have a short tow for tonight with all fiend refights. I figured after wandering around and having to learn how to track entrances that you probably didn't want to do the whole Temple of Fiends Revisited. So I was being kind here. Thoughts on that, Dead Pulse?
Oh, that's how it starts, you know. Give the ducks an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Well, sometimes I think it's the learning experience. You kind of minimize the variables, and in this one, this one's interesting. The question about the total orbs required is you can set it to random. All right, let's scroll on down to difficulty and scaling here. You're going to find that this is pretty normal. We left the encounter rates at 0.6.6. The experience and gold boost is the same as it's been most weeks. You'll still have experience conversion in chests, so the gold chests, 20% of them are replaced with experience. Nothing terribly surprising there. On to our incentivized locations and items. We've got a couple of random locations here, and a couple of them are a little interesting. So our marsh cave is random. We should expect to see our runners go to both marsh top and marsh bottom as they're trying to find the incentive there. The earth cave is specifically pre-rod, so that's going to be one of the chests on the first 3 floors of the earth cave. The sea shrine is random unlocked. We're going to get into why that's a little bit interesting in a minute, because usually random unlocked would just mean not that friendly chest in the crescent-shaped room on the mermaid side. It's a little different this time. And Sky Palace is random Mirage, so we're going to be looking at the first 2 floors of Mirage and checking all those chests for the incentive item. It's going to be before the Q block. How do you feel about those, Dead Pulse?
I'm just waiting. This is the fear, is that your rod is in, Earth Cave 3 and your cube is in Mirage 2. So routing kind of it's going to be very interesting to see how these racers, deal with that, whether they gamble on an Earth Cave dive early or if they try to hold out for the rod.
So that's kind of part of the interesting thing, especially since Mirage is not necessarily going to be at Mirage, and therefore you might not need the chime to get to it. So, you have a little bit of interest in terms of early dives to places that you might not normally go. That's how I look at it, at least. Let's move on to our next section here. You're going to see there is nothing terribly interesting going on in game mode and overworld. We've just got our early open progression that we always have on. Maps and routing. Here's where our entrance and town shuffle comes in. So towns are still towns, entrances are still entrances. The dead ends from the Cardia Isles are included. So you go to Matoya's Cave, that might be the Temple of Fiends. You go to Provoca, that might actually be Gaia. You never know. And with the relatively limited early availability, that means that our runners are going to be forced into whatever entrances happen to be available. So that can lead to some interesting changes as well. Mermaid Prison is on. I want to call that out very specifically. So when I said random unlocked in Sea Shrine, keep in mind that with this flag, all of the mermaid floor is considered locked. We also are, for the first time, introducing Generated Waterfall Cave. so the waterfall is going to look a bit different than you're used to seeing. We'll get into that when we get there. Any
Generated
thoughts?
waterfall is very spicy.
My experience with generated waterfall is it's almost always faster. Like, waterfall is designed to, like, use the screen wrap a little bit, and yeah, that gets ugly.
Yeah, you and I, sir, have very different interactions. When all you needed to do was take one step up to see the door, I explored 90% of it. Where is the chest? Where the heck is it?
Also, the call out from Hate. This is a very good call out. Early Sarda item is turned off. You will have to kill the vampire to get the item from Sarda. We don't usually turn these off very often, but it's always funny when we do, so I did it once.
Yeah, someone's gonna get got by that, I'll tell you what.
I wonder which of our racers tonight is going to get got by that, because I don't know that they noticed. I know a lot of them were very tunnel visioned on that entrance in town, so we'll see. It's always hilarious, Odron. Alright. Treasures and freebies. There are no surprises here. This is pretty much the same as it's always been. Shops and magic. Yup, it's still shops and magic. Enemies, formations, and bosses. Yep, that's still all the same. We've got shuffled trap tiles on, so that's, about the most interesting thing there. Our party composition, free pick. We're not restricting anything. Our classes, we still have our lock picking, we still have our improved harm, we're still at two blessings and no malices. We'll be getting to malices in the near future. You'll find out when we get there. But nothing much changed there. In the equipment and items, we are starting with a random AoE caster item. Dead Pulse, would you like to inform our viewers why?
Well, let's say, for example, the towns that you have access to are, I don't know, Crescent Lake and Gaia, and you don't really start with any magic and there's no weapons in the pool. It gets real bad real quick. So giving them just a little bit of help, just a little, usually smooths out the beginning.
And I would say that the worst case scenario is still okay. You can sell that item for money. And if that opens up something in the seed, that can be a real benefit. Our equipment blurses are still much the same, our -3 to +5. Again, no real surprises here. And as we continue on, no real surprises here either. We're going to still have our Trance's status element because I think it's one of the best tweaks in the game. But all of our normal conveniences and bug fixes. Alright. So, yes, Herbie B asking, is Canaria still Canaria? We have not changed anything about Canaria. So, there is a special flag called Unsafe Start that we did not enable here. We very much typically do not enable that unless we're trying to be mean. That's more of an RA and Kylo thing, I think, right?
Unsafe start. That sounds like a great day. No, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's too mean.
It is definitely too mean for ducks. I would not subject you to that, I promise.
So, Saracen, what else is going on? And is this a special race that we're viewing?
It is, as we have our Platy party going on, and we have 8 racers tonight. We're featuring Dark Moon EX and Burt Reynolds, who are kicking it off right now. Weird Sword +5 right out the gate. So we're seeing here Canaria Castle replaced with the Dwarf Cave. And yeah, it's usually pretty good to check that. level 1 nuke and warp. Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Noke? Is that a good spell, Saracen?
Pretty good, I hear. Life 2, also level 1, but it is in the White Mage only slot.
Things that are unfortunate.
Chain plus 4 is very good armor. So a lot of runners will go into the Canaria Castle check right away, just to see if they can get some gold or figure out what that entrance is. Coming out with a Weir Sword plus 5 right away is huge. Like that's going to carry you for a significant portion of the seed.
Yeah, honestly, if Nuke wasn't there, that Wear Sword plus 5 would have been what makes it through.
We've got a Ruse Stick and a Defense Sword already, too.
It's raining ruse items in here.
Was that TNT for sale in Canaria's shop? Where did that TNT come from on Bert's side? Because he just turned it in and got a ship.
Oh, wait a sec. Is that XCal plus 4? Doesn't one of these Blursings have legendary weapons?
Oh yeah, our black belts tonight have legendary sword pre-promotion, as though they could wield it normally. But
so Saracen, this is how I try to relate with the kids. There's this, meme of that guy from Spider-Man laughing. That's what's happening right now when they see the XCal plus 4 and nobody taking a black belt.
yeah, I can't say I'm surprised though. Entrance Shuffle is a little rough to want to take a black belt, at least in my experience. Dark Moon getting the business from that pack there. Wow, the ruse and the defense in that same place. Yes, okay, TNT was Canaria's shop. That's a really nice house price in this seed too.
What are you doing, Saracen? This is pretty nice.
We'll have to see how it plays out. You know how seeds sometimes play the long con. So Bert going right over to the Matoya entrance.
Round is kind of interesting. I expect a lot of people to take his beginning stance, which would have been, go into Canaria first, see what that is, or Canary Castle, and then go into town. But then as soon as you have access to Provoca, you kind of want to see what that second town is.
I 100% agree with that. I absolutely love to know what my town availability is, see if I can get better magic.
And then again, with Nuke and Warp, and that level 2 is at White Mage locked. Like, what other spells do you need? Like, fast will come eventually.
Harm 4 would be nice. I don't know. Nice experience chest early for Bert there, as Dark Moon headed through the Ordeals Maze. Ordeals Maze at what I think... Yeah, he's still at level 1. This is terrifying.
Listen, anytime you can go into Ordeals sub 4,
yeah, that's fair.
But you're not wrong. This is dangerous. And why this is so great. Who would dive Ordeals at level 1? Only a madman.
It's true. That was Fade at level 3, I noticed. And that was in a white locked slot. So, Provoca is Elf today. Very nice. Temper level 4. Big find. I don't mind the Quad X. I don't know if I want to spend the money on it. Sun plus 4 on the side of Dark Moon. At first
now we're talking. Yeah, so White Mage locked, it looks like. All life spells. This is going to be interesting.
Delicious. Yeah, there was an Ice Shield plus 5 next to that last pickup. This is it's a real strong seed for the fighter.
Here you go, Luffy. Have your silver bracelet -2.
That's the one that's only silver plated. It's actually copper underneath.
Odrin, not only would I dive this at level 1, I'd get through it and then reset so I could dive it again.
Alright, Darkmoon has successfully gotten through ordeals. And come out of it pretty far ahead in terms of levels. Like, that was a good dive.
With that Sun 4 coming out, yeah, Ordeals delivers.
Ordeals really did deliver. There was a lot of stuff in there.
One bit of strategy that I will say is that there are 2 entrances located right next to each other, and that's Elfland and Elfland Castle. That's something that I typically go to as soon as possible, just because, you know, the whole point of this is to visit entrances as quick as possible.
I am 100% with you. I think in Entrance and Town Shuffle specifically, it's nice to get the towns as fast as possible up front. The fact that you have a town next to a dungeon entrance is really great, because that means that you can save, you can revive if you need to, like, you have the tools available at the location, and so you're not quite as constrained.
Oh, absolutely. But one of the things to be terrified about is when the first town that you see is Onrak, and all of a sudden the Oxiel pops up. You're still going to need the Oxiel to go into the actual Sea Shrine, but that can usually gate progression.
No, because the Sea Shrine is an entrance, and that shuffles outside.
So I thought it shuffled in the town.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, that shuffles somewhere else. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can find Sea Shrine anywhere, and then you could find, say, Sarda sitting inside the Oxiale lock. So.
Oh, so instead you find the town. It's locked by the Oxiale. You don't know what's behind it, so you still need to find it and come back. That's even worse.
It is something terrible.
You know what this just means? I haven't played enough of these flake sets. I think I'm gonna play a couple of these after this.
Kate pointing out, tend to view the city of Onrak as the security guards in a gated community. Yeah, I follow that.
Well, Onrak is my 3rd least favorite town.
Behind Gaia and Lefane?
That's absolutely correct.
Alright, Bert is through the maze.
And I remember, yeah, that Grey Worm wasn't kidding around. So as we're waiting, people are kind of doubling back on each other. Saracen, tell me a little bit about this Platy party. I hear so much about this. What is it, a 3-week tournament?
It is indeed a 3-week tournament. So one of the nicest things about the Platy party is that we're outsourcing our content here. We send our more experienced runners into a little mini tournament for themselves to show off how they race flags, and they only get to see the flags about 10 minutes before the gate drops for the race. So they have to figure out what the problems are, what they're trying to solve for on the fly. And I think it's a lot of fun. It's not quite as scientific as Mystery, but you get a good experience. And you know, if you end up graduating to Platypus, it is an opportunity to race and also further the community itself. So I am always a fan of all of our runners who participate. I myself participated 2 Platy parties ago, maybe 3.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you were in the inaugural one.
I mean, the more recent of, yes. So it's a good time. I joke about how I went fourth place in 3 races for second place overall, with a very nice 69 points at the end. But you know, it's true. That's how I managed it. Darkmoon, wow, has 3 stoned characters all of a sudden. The overworld encounter's not super kind.
Don't take overworld encounters. I want you to repeat that to yourself. Yeah, the Gerwolves just bracked, just one by one, each of his characters. I shouldn't be laughing. That's not funny. It's happened to all of
them. Bert taking the very interesting decision to not check the hint giver. But then again, I think a lot of our more experienced runners tend to forget that the hint givers exist.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the hint givers in this are kind of confusing because they give you the location that the entrance that it's at, not necessarily what the actual place is.
I believe they tell you the entrance and the indication of what chest it is or how you get it is going to be instructive as to what you're actually looking for. So if you see, for example, that it's in Marsh Cave on the right side, well, the right side is going to refer to Sea Shrine. But it is the Titan's Tunnel. How do you feel about Titan Wormhole, by the way?
Oh my goodness, always.
So the Titan's Tunnel connects 2 places. Hey, it actually connects to its vanilla exit. Now, what's great about this is we know that the only other way to get to this would be via floater, and that's Bahamut's Cave. So yeah, gotta get that tail to utilize that, but still useful overall.
So yeah, what brings this interesting is, let's say you can find the tail, but you don't have the floater. Like, you're going to be running back here because that XCal +4, delicious.
Sure is. Now, I missed what Bert did to get the ruby. Let me check our tracker notes. Oh, yeah, I was just talking to the king. So Bert, having gone to Northwest Castle, has given him the ruby, which got him that exit, which means that Darkmoon's kind of having to retread his steps in order to figure out what that is. Because once you find out that the wormhole exists, you definitely need to know what's there.
Yeah, Darkmoon fell into one of the classic follies of guessing wrong.
No Bahamut's Horde tonight, that is correct. So, yes, guessing wrong is a pain. Bert finds Lefane, which is useful and not. It's useful because it has a superstore, and he has not found Provoke yet, so at least you'd be able to get the level 2 magic, and that can be big. Here's our Proc-Gen Waterfall. Key to success in a Proc-Gen Waterfall. Look up. If you can go up, that is usually the correct direction. You will see the outline of the room in the Proc-Gen Waterfall. As soon as it comes on screen, like where it is in the walls, you'll be able to see it. But doors always are on the bottom of rooms. So that's why you kind of want to go up. And here we go. The robot is even delivering it. Doesn't even have to step on the spike tile. Does anyway. Gets an ugly pack. I understand this though. It's easy chests. It's not bad. And
but I mean, it was gift wrapped.
It was.
Another thing I will suggest to all of you burgeoning ducks out there, write stuff down.
Yes. So we'll make sure to link the tracking tools that are out there. And, you know, when we post the flags tomorrow for the weekly. Bert finds Earth Cave at Earth Cave.
Yeah, a lot of the community do a lot of different things when it comes to this sort of shuffling around of entrances, towns, or even floors. Um, I pen and paper. I write down all of the entrances and I make a little note as to what it is, and I cross it off when I don't need it anymore. It saves a lot of time because let's say you're, oh man, I need to figure out, where the heck Tiamat was. I'm gonna go through 26 locations looking for her.
So I am on the flip side of that in that I don't write things down, but let me tell you what, Dux, you play how you practice. Uh, all the mistakes, all of the choices you make when you are practicing, that is how you will perform in an actual race. So be used to the idea of tracking if you are going to track. If you are not going to track, make sure that you are, thinking that decision through and making sure you have the memory to do that. Bert finds an Agama. It is the second tile in the Earth Cave, Hall of Giants, which is a good place for it. He has warp. But yeah, when I say that you play how you practice, like, make sure that your tracking method when you're in an actual race is the same tracking method that you normally use in practice, because changing that up can throw things off. And I definitely used to be a pen and paper kind of person. Like, there's some jokes about like rite of passage utilities that people make for themselves that other people have made already. Um, Location trackers, definitely one of them. And then there was Ale's spreadsheet that handles all the weapons. That was a thing that a lot of people would do for themselves as well. All right, Bert checking the earth chests. Get that. He finds the eye. Dead Pulse. Why are both of the good grinds in the same dungeon?
Because the other shoe's gonna drop somewhere, Saracen. I just know it.
They have a million great weapons. They have level 1 nuke and warp. The shoe better drop somewhere.
Well, the shoe's gonna drop when they try to, talk to Sarda, and they haven't killed the vampire.
Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem in Bert's case. He's here as long as he noticed the flag. Or if it's the vampire chest for the for the incentive.
So Dark Moon is doing exactly what I would have done, which is wander around in this waterfall because who the heck can find it?
Generally heading in the correct direction, though. That counts for a lot. And there it is.
Now another thing with flag sets like this, especially when magic is sparse, there's a chance you're not going to be able to get to Provoca right away to get your level 2, level 3, level 4, etc. You're going to be stuck with level 1. And chances are, in 7 out of 8 seeds, you're not going to have nuke at level 1. So getting levels for spell charges, especially if you only have like an ice 2 or an ice 3, that it might take a little bit to kill things, very good. So taking some levels here where you can, not a bad idea.
Yep.
Oh, gargoyles with gaze, interesting.
Gargoyles are in my list of enemies that I consider nuking every time.
Yeah, not a fan here. Don't know anybody who is. And if there is someone who's a fan, I don't want to know them.
Oh, Bert. Taking the gamble. The canoe has been found in Earth 2. He is not going for the vampire. It's time to boogie. We got entrances to check all over the place. Now, we do not have Northern Docks on or anything like that. So we have Ordeals, Volcano, Ice. We're going back to check the Canaria Armory, which is great because the thief lockpicking is turned on, and Bert got to 15. So
Yeah, really, I can't think of an item that it's the canoe. As soon as you find the canoe, I mean, that's going to open up not only ordeals, the vanilla location ordeals, but it's going to open up volcano, ice, a quicker way to get around the world. So yeah, this is the point. When I find the canoe, I do exactly what Bert is doing, and that's going, okay, I've got several places I have to go.
yep. Now, that keep in mind with the lock picking that it is out of logic that you are checking that, right? Now, logic's magic. Like, you don't really care as long as you get the thing, right? But you know that there's going to be something that's blocking your progression to that. And it's important to recognize that, like, that there could be multiple steps in getting to that, and especially in entrance shuffle, that can be very tricky. Bert finds Northwest. He's marking it down. He's not caring, which is the correct answer. He doesn't have the crown. He can't do anything about that place. He already knows where good grind tiles are. There's no point.
Another thing I love about entrance floor shovel, you get to visit ordeals twice. Once when you find the entrance, and once when at its vanilla location. Amazing.
I will say both of our runners on stream took the chance to flee from the Earth Cave as soon as possible. So I'm waiting for them to hit Sarda. And man, how funny would it be if Sarda was at like Ice Cave?
Saracen, this would have happened to me. Like, this is me. Like, I would have completely ignored that flag. I would have warped out just like both of these runners, and I'm hoping that they don't get punished too bad.
I want Sarda to have the floater now. That's just how it is. Correct, they don't have the Rhododron, but the early Sarda being turned off changes the calculus. That's the whole thing.
So have you gone over some of the other early turn on and offs?
I think this is the first one we've turned off, but if you want to enlighten the ducks, by all means.
Yeah, let's see if I can remember them. So ordeals specifically, normally you need the crown for, which isn't a problem in the vanilla game because you can't get there unless you have the crown. But you can bonk off ordeals by not having the crown, unless that flag is turned on. Another one is the Circle of Sages. If you don't defeat Lich, you can bonk off the Sage. I think there's one more. Is there one more? No, that sounds about right.
I'm gonna look now. Early King.
Early King, that's right. You can have the king before you actually save Princess Sarah.
Yeah, I hate calling it out. I saw it as well, but Bert reset out of the Power Glove, and it was because it was a linked chest and he knew.
Oh, that's beautiful. So yeah, a lot of the things that when you have a loose in Marsh Cave, you'll see a lot of racers go top first before going down. I guess it saves a couple of steps. I do that. I don't know why I do it, but that's just what I do.
The amount of walking you do on the second floor of Marsh, or the bottom floor of Marsh, is huge, and so it's best to just get it out of the way. Marsh Top is nice in some regards because two of the chests are linked to the lower floor. By the way, Bert found a second ribbon in Marsh in the 2-pack room. Dark Moon headed to the Ice Cave entrance first.
And going to the correct dock for it. Delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why Bert chose to just canoe his way around, but he is the canoe master, so, you know.
I'd never dare question it, so.
I've been joking recently that I need to take the airship and the ship. Ooh, we get the Sea Shrine entrance at Ice. But take both of those and replace them with the canoe, so that you can take the canoe flying and go big boating with it. And Bert finds a bottle. We have found Gaia. That's at Crescent Lake.
You know, at least it's not that far away, but that's when you're gated by progression. Oh, I found the bottle. Where the heck was Gaia?
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, so Dark Moon checking right side first. And realistically, there's 4 chests that matter here in terms of the incentive. Because we have the mermaids are locked in their prison, like they belong in. You know, you kind of don't care that much about right side.
Yeah, they know what they did.
Yep. Those ghosts, man, they were not joking around.
Ghosts are always terrifying.
It's true. Light axe, we have a lot better weapons than that so far. Oh, they're ambushy too. Ooh.
Weren't they a little ambushy in the vanilla game too?
You know, probably.
Or maybe it just felt that way.
Bert also headed over in this direction. I want to know if either of these runners noticed the mermaid prison. Bert is gonna not really figure that out unless he just checks all the chests, because he has the lock picking. He's headed in that direction.
Now there was some sort of tournament that I keep referencing in my head because that had Loose Marsh and it had Loose in Sea, and I want to say that was one of the spring tournament. And a majority of the players opted to go left instead of right.
So, spring tournament 2021, I think, was the one where we had random incentives introduced. And sort of the meta was to go to the left, because if it was on Kraken's side, you just ended up all the better for it. You didn't have to check mermaids at all.
What I'm hoping, all the ducks out there, is you screamed, Dark Moon, you missed a step. Because listen, you get my voice saying it. Every time I see it, I get Jad's voice saying it. So everybody's going to hear it.
We need to get Jad into the booth for one of these boot camps, I think.
One of them. All of them.
Got to convince that guy to do something. That's not just his real life stuff, right? Jat is a beloved member of our community. He is a fantastic resource for learning the game. And, yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had 3 of them.
Exactly. Alright, Dark Moon onto Sharknado. Bert getting bullied by everything because he's running around with 2 stoned party members still?
Yeah, well, this place, Sea Shrine's kind of butts, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, cannot argue.
I also love Bert's inventory versus Dark Moon's. Dark Moon's got 4 pieces of equipment and Bert is full.
Yep. Dark Moon's... he's cleared out stuff occasionally to make sure he can pick up more things, which, you know, that can be a downside as well. These ghosts are annoyingly common.
Well, I don't think Dark Moon has a thief.
Correct. He has a fighter, 2 black mages, and a white mage. Castlevania sprites, by the way. If you were not aware, Dark Moon is a very big fan of the Castlevania series, Metroidvanias in general, and he has a blog, I think, that goes over, like he does reviews of. There's our chime. Chime opens up a random entrance that we can't access yet. But, you know, it's still good.
So, Saracen, did Phoenix hijack ADR's Twitch or something? I see a pun in here. I need to. How do I boot you out of the stream, ADR?
I mean, Phoenix is currently racing off stream here, so I think. Is he not? I could have sworn he was in the room. Whatever. Dang it,
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Well, Burt Reynolds having to go back to that chime. We got roughed up a little bit.
Yeah, this place has been unkind.
So one thing that I will note is it's terrifying to go in at these levels unpromoted and try to take out Kraken. It seems like the correct option to do because you have nuke and everything like that. But at this point, if you fished out the chime and exited out and said, you know what, when I get the floater, I'll come back and take out Kraken, I would not blame you, and that might be the correct choice here. We have no idea if Kraken has thunder or anything.
I think Burt is in a position to take out Kraken because Burt has more levels, he has 2 ribbons, he's just got better gear overall. I mean, there was a flame armor plus 4 or 5 in Marsh at Volcano, so like there's just a lot better gear on Burt's side, and the levels are there, right? Dark Moon is approaching this, you know, at level 12 before coming in, and Burt's over 15.
Yeah, but Kraken looks sideways at one of those nuke casters.
We also have defense and ruse. We have really good swords. Like, I think that the fighter, if given the opportunity, could handle this. Fire 2, big whoop. Now, that looked like a power bonk to me, which I'm a little concerned about. Like, yeah. Because that's exactly what you were talking about with the nuke casters. Like, why would you power bonk instead of ruse if you were trying to defense up and you invis 2 instead? I don't get it. But,
well, we're taking a break from Fire 2s to punch someone.
Yes. Burt does get it done. The poor white mage on Dark Moon's side, taking a nap. Coincidentally, Luffy went to bed after doing comms for Springo Bingo. So that's why we have special guest commentator Dead Pulse in here.
So blame Luffy for having to hear me talk on this. I do appreciate both players having a defensive stance with this. You could have just gone in guns blazing and tried to fade and nuke down Kraken. But if Kraken wasn't casting Fire 2, let's say Kraken just decided to punch, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now you've wasted 10 minutes searching for that chime. Gonna have to come back.
And Kraken did roll up, too. Now the scariest 3 steps. Moving the Thor hammer over.
Absolutely correct.
The worst thing that could have happened there was like a seafood party platter and you just get pinched to death. Alright, Bottle turns into adamant. We know that Canaria Castle is where the dwarves are hiding out tonight.
We're going to have to go all the way back. So one thing I'll note, Saracen, I'm sorry, we're 35 minutes in and it doesn't feel like we've gotten anywhere, but this is kind of normal.
Yes, absolutely. The uncertainty about locations causes the early part of this to go a little haywire. Now, I think this adamant has to turn into the floater pretty quick. Or it's gonna like turn into crown because we've seen Northwest at ordeals. But like we're running out of entrances we can check without a floater. And there it is.
So Saracen, we're getting the floater. Where do you go now? You're Burt Reynolds. Where do you go?
I check every Cardia entrance. There are 6 entrances in close proximity, right? Is that the count? One,
Yep,
two,
and
three.
especially with your little mix in the dead ends, it becomes very valuable.
And the nice thing is you can save in your airship before you land at any island. Check the entrance. If it's garbage, you just reset and go to the next island. You've saved yourself all that time.
Now, let's say that Titans, we didn't do Titans and it didn't lead to Titans West, and we haven't done a vanilla Sarda location yet. Do you then go there first, or do you hit the 6 Cardia locations?
I tend to leave Sarda and Titan West for the end. There we saw that the Oxyale entrance was one of the Cardia dead ends. Bert is actually, I appreciate this decision as well. He's checking the towns because he hasn't found Provoca yet. So he's looking for Provoca specifically. Our other options at this point, I believe, are Melmond. Melmond hasn't been found, right?
Quite.
And there is Provoca at Lefane, which is one of the nightmares. So, Town Shuffle is scary, all right? And I say this as somebody who has done many Town Shuffle seeds. But the reason that it's scary is that you can run into a situation where Provoca and Elfland are floater locked. And this is just, half of that equation. Finding Elfland early is a blessing, and sometimes you don't get that blessing.
Or one thing to lean into is specifically that Lefane Superstore. It becomes super valuable if that shows up early.
That's true.
But no, seriously, my experience in these flag sets is it seems like you wander around for 40 minutes not accomplishing anything, but then all of a sudden it's 10 minutes later and you've got all 4 orbs lit.
Yep. It happens all the time. And what really it comes down to is there's a degree to which the randomizer will sort of push you in that direction where it doesn't feel like a whole lot's going on, and then you suddenly find all the things. But really, what it comes down to is it's just tricky to evaluate your position. And the chime is worthless! Hello, other Cardia dead end.
Womp womp.
You go to all that trouble fishing that out, and all you get is a Cardia dead end.
So another thing I love about entrance and town shuffle is that it's very important to understand when you are in go mode. What I will see a lot of people do is, now I'm a fan of ordeals, but you're in go mode, you find ordeals, and you know that it's not going to be incentivized, or it is incentivized, but it's not going to be something you need for go mode. That's 2.5 minutes wasted trying to run through there.
He knew. Bert knew that Sarda's early off. All right, we found Toph. This is a big find. This is one of the hardest things about entrance shuffle to me, is finding and remembering where Toph is. You will note that when you rescue Sarah in entrance shuffle, she just leaves. She doesn't take you with her. So just, bear that in mind. She's a flight risk. We found a volcano on the top of Bahamut's Island. Darkmoon, meanwhile, still headed through this ordeal's which is a very important path. The bottle was here, that leads to the adamant to the floater.
Yeah, I was going to say that Princess Sarah is like a CB radio, only has a range of like 400 yards.
It's good though, because, you know, it would really suck to have your airship be locked on an island that you can't access.
Samantha.
So Bert just gonna blaze through here, pun intended, because no incentive in Volcano, as I recall.
But there's lots of delicious chests, I'll tell you what.
He has enough gear for everybody.
He had enough gear at 2 minutes in.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just looking at things, the Sarda check that he needs to go back to Earth to do, which was at Earth Cave, convenient for memory's sake. But, you know.
So yeah, let's take a little, you know, where are we? Like, let's look at these key items and see where we are. We're at 41 minutes in, and Bert is a little bit ahead on the exploration. We just lit our second orb. But we don't have the loot, and we need the loot and the rod, and I believe that's it.
Bert, does Bert remember that this is pre-cube for the incentive? Dead Pulse, was I too much of a jerk when I made these flags?
Saracen, you have never, nor will you ever, be a jerk.
You say that. We'll see how this plays out. So
there's always a shock in how different flag sets are from other things. Like anybody who came up here during, you know, one of the spring tournaments and they practice those flag sets a bunch, all of a sudden to switch over to something else, like, hey, where's my free canoe? This is bullcrap.
Yup, absolutely. Oh man, free canoe in spring tournament after my boot camp was probably my favorite change. Like in the flags, and then to try to adjust to life without was very painful. Odron, what I will say about incentive locations is I have 3 monitors, and I leave the incentives up on the right monitor. The left monitor is the game, and then the top monitor is usually something on YouTube. But the incentive locations are very prominently in front of my face, unless they're irrelevant.
I actually tattoo them on my arm, and by the way, I'm running out of arm space.
That's a lot of flags to have on an arm.
It's a lot of arm.
Jeez. We got buff Dead Pulse over here. You know he's working out his gamer muscles.
I didn't say muscular, I just said long. Well, let's all settle down.
Alright, Dark Moon headed to go get that airboat.
One thing I like about, I'm going to go back to the airship talk, going up to those 6 cardia locations, because let's say you're in a race with someone and you get the airship. If you get the airship before them, it's good to get those locations and double down on your lead. Is basically saying, okay, I'm going to hit up the places that if my opponent doesn't have the airship, they can't go. And hopefully that's going to, you know, continue my lead.
Yeah, and I would say the group race feeling of it's time for checking all the locations. And you know, Bert did this too. Darkmoon doing the same thing. I just want to call out. It very much is logical to check the Gaia location on the way from the floater, because it's just straight south to the landing spot. Bert takes out Tia. Off and away he goes. Oh, he is going to check the chest now. He just wanted to take care of the orb first. All right, Dark Moon went out to save because he wasn't sure what he was going to run into here, and it's sadness. But now he's on his airboat.
It's such a big womp womp of just not only was Chime not required, but so was Oxyhill.
The best news that some runners get right there. Now, sadness is that you used all that time in ice, which was Sea Shrine, to find your Chime. Bert finds ice, by the way, on Cardia.
And so he's got to be going through a couple things in his head. We know that Sarda is still something that we're missing. Ice, and then what else?
So he just got the crystal out of Mirage. So we still need to find Matoya. But from an incentive perspective, it's Sarda and Matoya, and wherever we get the crown to go to Northwest. I think that covers it.
Yeah, someone did see Matoya. Where the heck was that?
Oh, and Slabs
Castle.
Oh, Elfland was Matoya? Excellent.
I'm betting anything Sarda's going to be the rod. I just have this feeling this is what happens when you get nuke level 1. You have to go in, kill the vampire, then fly all the way up to talk to Sarda to get the rod to continue.
Oh, no. We find the rod in ice.
Exactly what I said. Gonna be an ice cave.
You know, you get all sorts of other shoe varieties in these flags. Sarda having the loot would be real jerk, but Bert having the rod now is just going to go do her. Which wholeheartedly agree. I don't know about
absolutely.
This is a little scary in terms of some of the enemies, because I remember there being some nastiness in the overworld encounters that are shared here.
And we've got somewhere between 300 and 400 ribbons, so we'll probably be fine.
Yes.
But no, so best case scenario for Bert is that, yeah, Sarda does have the loot, and after this, we're done. I mean, this could be, we got the floater at what, 35 minutes? We had one orb lit, sort of, and then 15 minutes later to be in go. Nice.
Heck yeah. Alright, Dark Moon also getting the ice cave check, and we'll get his rod. I kind of wonder how bad Bert felt when he found Sarda and realized, oh, I needed to actually do this thing.
You know, it is kind of a 50-50, because if you could avoid going down to kill the vampire because you eventually get the rod before Sarda, then it's a big brain play. It didn't happen this time, and that sucks. Had it not been the canoe, if it would have been another turn-in, I probably would have gone down, but with the canoe, I would have done the same thing both of these racers did.
I follow that logic. I tend to like to close out locations as much as I can now. Dark Moon also going to make the ascent without checking the first floor of Mirage.
Now Now, what's also funny is you watch these, you see all the things that are lit up on Bert's side and how he's about to light his fourth orb. But in reality, Dark Moon isn't that far behind.
Yeah. Dark Moon hasn't seen Volcano yet, but it's in Cardia. He has the rod because he's done ice. He's really not that far behind. He has the tools to take care of Tiamat while he's here.
So yeah, we got a couple of options to go to for seeing out where this loot is. Chat, where do you think it's going to end up? Of course, Dark Moon going for the greater than, less than. First, I do not care for this room. It's a personal preference. It just takes so long to get.
Oh, there is the Masa -3 coming out of Matoya. You gave me my eye
Delicious.
back. Here, have a bad sword. I mean, it's still a Masa, but like, ew.
I would like your finest sword, please. You can have a sword.
A finely honed butter knife. There is the tail coming out of Sarda. We did see Bahamut's cave at some point. Let me just go through our notes here. Oh, Sarda's cave.
That was Sarda. So let me get this straight. Sarda gets kicked out of his home by a dragon, but steals his precious tail.
Apparently. All right.
Sarda's kind of mean.
So the slab is apparently maybe known? I don't know. It doesn't look like either of our runners have it. You can hear the Jeopardy theme playing in Bert's head right. He's having a moment. And this happens a lot. Like, you know, don't get it twisted. This is just how entrance shuffle works. Sometimes you're like,
absolutely.
What did I miss?
Well, listen, like, the first thing that you do in a situation like this, don't panic. Take the time to figure out what you're doing. You're going to save more time by getting your bearings and then by just willy-nilly running around trying to figure something out. And yes, the inevitable triple dip of Canaria Castle is probably going to be the correct option here.
Oh, there is the crown coming from the princess. So now it is time to go back to our Northwest Castle, which was Ordeals, right? I believe that's correct.
That is absolutely correct.
So you get to triple dip Ordeals this seed.
What is it, my birthday?
Who can know? Honestly, I don't know your birthday, so I don't know.
Well, it's today because this has happened. Oh no, Dark Moon. Oh god.
Dark Moon just took a wipe there. And it looked like it was to a random encounter on the bridge.
It was fire hydrants. Fire hydrants did him in.
I'm a big fan of the fire hydrants. Usually.
They're delicious, but watch out, they sting. The fun police.
Yes, the correctly named fun police.
Oh, Bert.
Fun enemy names is a great flag if it's something that you can play with. I cannot. Much like Palette Shuffle, where, honestly, this probably would break rules in the community. I have considered going into my base ROM and renaming the mucks, oozes, scums to whatever their elemental weakness is, because I can never remember those things.
They are weak to the run command.
Yes, this is true. But, but in the
just rename all monsters to run.
Alright, Bert promoting. I certainly do not mind this. We have an XCal +4 that needs some wearing, you know?
Yeah, we've had an XCal +4 for 54 minutes.
Yep. Also, I love the cursor strats on Bert's screen.
I made the mistake once of having cursor strats while you were calming, and
yeah. I call it out all the time. If you didn't know that about me yet, chat, now you do. And there the Lefenish man gives us our loot, which is in the form of a gong this scene. Now it's time to go back to Toph, which was hiding in the Cardia Island.
Yeah. And just like that, we're in go mode. It took longer to fish out the loot than it did to light 3 orbs.
Yep.
And again, that's pretty standard.
Alright, it is time to do some equipment jiggling. I'm a big fan of equipment jiggling.
And then, after all of this, after all of the trials and tribulations, the running all over the world to figure out how to save it, we get to go into Topher, and your reward is that it is a short Topher. Saracen, tell me how this short Topher works.
Well, you go straight to the Chaos floor, and there's a series of spike tiles, which is exactly how the Fiend 2 refights are in the first place. But in this version, you will fight all 4 of the Fiends, and wow, Carry 2 coming out strong with a zap right out the gate, taking out that thief. You will need the loot and the key to get through the entryway there, as those are typically required, and we require them in the short Topher as well. But once you have gone through your Fiend refights, you get to go fight Chaos just as normal. But the nice thing is you don't have to do the whole running around and dealing with the random encounters, and random encounters are a big deal in Topher.
Well, yeah, they'll mess you up.
They are the right and true end boss of this game.
And yeah, there's a couple of different options on the randomizer for what you can do with this. You can have Topher unlocked, where you don't need the key. You can have it where you only fight 2 refights instead of all 4. Make sure when you see short Topher, know what you're getting into.
Bert down to 2. Dark Moon takes out Tia 1. So, being down to 2 going into the fight here is a little scary. We do have Temper. We don't have access to Fast anymore because that was on the Black Maid in the bonus slots. But that is a very well-armored knight. We have a ruse stick, we have a saber bonk. We're fine, right? Assuming not multiple nuke.
Fire 2, then lit 2. I'm feeling pretty good at this point.
So, like, I'm feeling okay. Stun's good, okay. We don't care about stun. We have ribbons for days. What I am concerned about with this chaos is it has done 4 spells in a row. Now, granted, it's not super bad, but okay. This is the good news part. And there's the perfect news part. We cannot have 2 nukes now. But this isn't, like, so far only spells, and Bert takes it out.
That's usually how it goes. Spend 3 turns rusing. Chaos never punches.
Yeah. So, GG to Burt Reynolds, who has finished 3rd place in the total standings, but first on stream. First place overall was Fryteeth with a time of 48:50. Ale Mark in 2nd place, 52:33. Burt Reynolds' official time, 1 hour, 1 minute, and 5 seconds. So we'll see if Burt wants to hop in here and give his thoughts on the scene.
But yeah, that was a very nice run race by Bert. We methodically checked all of the locations. We had a plan going in, and it was executed very well. A race he definitely should be proud of.
Yeah, and I mean, this ended up being a bit of a full clear simulator, but ultimately, like, I think the performance here was great, and you know, it's just tricky sometimes.
But with these, it's hard to get kind of an average or what to expect out of things. It can be so variable with what you choose to go to. If you can pick out, the canoe and the floater right off the bat, you're going to be in a much better position than someone who took a little bit to get.
Absolutely. Dark Moon is located Toph, which is good news for Dark Moon. I think one of the other interesting callouts to make here is compare Dark Moon's magic to Bert's magic, if you recall. Dark Moon recognizes the problem as he finds Sarda's cave. Dark Moon purchased a lot more spells, and analysis paralysis is a real thing. It is sometimes difficult to decide what you're going to do. And so it's important to minimize the tools that you choose based on what you have. And let me tell you, when you get level 1 nuke, a lot of things stop mattering.
Other spells, what is that?
Right. And so, like, if you looked in Bert's magic menu, there was just not a lot there. Like, I think the Red Mage had like 5 spells total. And, nothing above level 4.
Now, another thing we forgot to mention about Dark Moon doesn't have the thief, so needed to dig out that key. Which is kind of convenient because we got the key at the same time that we just got it right before we did Garland. So now we don't have to triple dip this place.
Right. Alright, Dark Moon catching up a little bit here, gets the crown. Remembers that he checked the kink, too. Forgets the Canaria lock. Dark Moon, please.
I'm sure it wasn't important.
The Canaria lock. We've all been there. The other thing that's worth noting is there's a double-edged sword problem that comes up with entrance shuffle. The first one is if you play it long enough, you forget the things you've done. And the longer you play, the harder it is to remember the things you haven't done, both of those come into effect very hard at about an hour in.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The brain power that's kind of required to house all of this information in such a short amount of time, you get tired.
Yep.
And it's not just being old. Like,
so yeah, that's another case for the taking of the notes in your entrance shuffle is, be ready for this to be a little bit tiring, and that you'll want to be able to reference things that you might not remember from an hour ago.
what else can you think of for these flag sets? How would what other advice can we give the ducklings who are planning on doing one of these come tomorrow?
Ooh, advice. So understand your toolkit is a really big one. Entrance will really test your knowledge about spells and weaknesses and all of that a lot harder than the stuff that we've done so far. And what I mean by that is, if you have Bane as your only sweeper, you're going to need to understand what you can use Bane on. And that is a challenge sometimes. Understanding the weaknesses is a big deal. And then just understanding, how hard can I go? What do I need to run from? What can I survive? Right? There will be times in entrance shuffle where an early sea dive is required. And when I say early, I mean earlier than what we had tonight. And that's a thing that you have to understand how to prepare for and how to execute. And like encounter manipulation can work into that. Just the toolkit in general is another big thing. Like, what can I use against these horrible, horrible ghosts? Because I've got, Ice 3 and Fire 2. Well, Fire 2 is going to be the better answer here, right? So, again, it's just, there's a lot of understanding how to push your limits a little harder. What about you, Dead Pulse? What is your advice for our intrepid ducks?
Warp and exit are your friend. If you don't have them, reset is your friend.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
That's kind of why I favor towns first, because I want warp, I want exit, I want nuke, and they're just such. The three of those spells are just so valuable. The people who get them first are probably going to win.
A big part of it is finding the spells. I would say I'm not going to count somebody who misses it by a couple minutes out, but definitely I do worry about anybody who takes a significant amount of time to find those spells. Now, if Nuke's level 1 and Warp's level 1, you've got a great seed on your hands, don't you, Jesus?
Found it 4 seconds before. That means I'm going to win. If they're all level 1, you share that seed with me. Another thing that I will note is making using this as sort of an intro to race crew is also very good, because Wildham has done an excellent job at tracking all of this, but this helps a lot when you if you're getting into race crew, or if you're a duckling trying to track one of these. It makes you pay a lot of attention, and it gives you, I don't know, it's just helpful. But I think we're joined in the booth by first place on stream finisher, Mr. Burt Reynolds. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good, guys. How's it going with you?
It's been an exciting night. How do you feel about that seed just now?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting way to play Final Fantasy Randomizer. Like, I played plenty of blind seeds, and I played plenty of seeds where I get, a couple months to practice. But the 10 minutes and see how much you remember seed is kind of a fun experience.
It's an adventure for sure.
Yeah, I made one huge mistake in the early game. I went into Earth Cave and I didn't kill the vampire because I forgot that early Sarda was not on. So I was cursing myself for like the next half an hour, just waiting to find Sarda and knowing that I wasn't going to be able to get his item.
See, I was wondering if either you or Dark Moon was going to talk to Sarda to find out that problem, because you both skipped out on the vampire. And both of you walked out of it. Like, you got to Sarda's cave, you took like 2 steps in, and you went, wait a second, and left.
Yeah, I had it written down, but I just didn't put the pieces together while I was doing the race. So I knew at some point I was going to find Sarda, and I was just hoping that I would find the rod before I found the Sarda entrance, and I could go back and do Earth all at once. I don't think Sarda was even it wasn't even required. So
Sarda was the tail, so no, not required.
But I mean, I can't argue with what you did. Sarah and I were both talking, and it was like, yeah, like you find the canoe when you're going, it opens up so many more areas. Yeah, just warp out.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was going to be the canoe there. Yeah, that was just a mistake. I should have killed the vampire if I was thinking straight.
Between the short time to review the flags and then the entrance shuffle being the format for tonight, I think missing that is totally understandable.
Yeah, I think that was my only big major mistake. You guys probably found lots of little tiny mistakes, but
tiny mistakes don't count.
I think the rest
in
went...
this format.
Yeah, I kind of had too many levels, but I knew I was going into Topher without life. So I wanted to make sure that my fighter could just solo all of Topher if I needed to. I mean, I left my Thief Stone for most of the seed after I got lockpicking, just because I knew he was going to die as soon as I got into Topher, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, Bert, what kind of advice do you have for one of the ducklings if they're about to run their first entrance and town shuffle seed coming up?
Oh, take good notes. I always have a pen and a piece of paper next to me. I mean, there's plenty of electronic ways to do it if you're more into that kind of thing. But what I do is I write down all the entrances, and then as I get to an entrance, I either cross it off if I've completed the entrance, or write down beside the entrance what is there if I need to come back to it at some point in the future, or might need to come back to it sometime in the future. Without my notes, I'd be completely lost.
Even with my notes, sometimes I'm lost. Like, I can't read my own writing. This is terrible.
Yeah, no, because I'm trying to play with one hand and write with the other hand, so usually one of them suffers. I'm walking into walls and stuff.
I always try to wait until I'm in a battle and then quickly write it down, but then sometimes I forget what I was going to write down. Oh, it's just
Carrie, too, lived long enough to nuke down Darkmoon's entire party, basically. Rough.
I muted myself because I was laughing maniacally.
I mean, it's just how this goes, right?
Well, I'm very glad you put Short Topher on this because, like I said, this is more of a mental drain than it looks like. Trying to not only remember all of these, but take notes. And then usually, 40 minutes of running around aimlessly, followed by a 10-minute fetch quest to get your last item, followed by, 5 minutes of clearing all the orbs. Now you're in Temple of Fiends, and Carrie just decides, I'm going to zap the nuke you. It's exhausting.
In my opinion, long Topher is unplayable. Every flag set ever made should have short Topher on it. And with that, I gotta go. Good night, guys.
Good night, Bert.
Thank you very much. The man, the myth, the legend, Burt Reynolds, everybody. Now, my first experience, Saracen, with Entrance Floor Shuffle was one of the co-op tournaments.
Mm.
And instead of writing things down, I let Devious do it. And then I just like, well, where's this? Where's this?
That's right. Throw it onto Devious. Make him do all the work.
Now, to be fair, he was really good at it.
So when I was in Duckling Boot Camp, now almost 2.5 years ago. Isn't that crazy to say, Deadpulse?
We're so old.
We are practically fossils, disintegrating in our chairs as we speak. I made a list of all the entrances in a Word document, and I would print that off so that I could write the notes down while we were playing. And yeah, that helped for a while, and certainly didn't help enough for the race that we did in our derby, where we had entrance and floor shuffle. And I think town shuffle too.
That was delicious.
Mm-hmm. Now, for any duck who's willing to spice it up a little bit, you can also shuffle the floors. You can also shuffle the towns and entrances together into one big pool. And you can make the towns appear as floors within entrances. So they can be the end of a dungeon. So, or in the case of Onrak, they can be just, kind of in the middle. We've had some fun with that in the past.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with Entrance Floor Shuffle. If you're ever like, oh, I want to race someone, just say Entrance Floor Shuffle, and I will come running.
Hate calling out the glory that is C-Split to Onrak to Marsh Split. Whew. That's rough. Now, there is also a flag for Deep Topher, and there is Dark Moon finishing up. Why, hello, Dark Moon.
Delicious defensive strategies. Hey, Dark.
Hey, I knew you were going to get me on that. I was a little too defensive there at the end.
I think you may have gotten a little bit frustrated at the carry nuke and been like, we're making this happen, all right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I wasn't diving again after that. One more and done.
I was amazed at how many instant death spells your characters lived through as you were going through the Fiend refights.
That was nice at the end. Well, I did have 3 ribbons, so... I mean, I was amazed at how many times the game was like, no, you need to go back to the start of a dungeon again. We're just going to ambush you with every single fight in the game.
Ghosts, please.
Yeah, right? Like, I just could not catch a break today. Oh. So, I took the Oreo instead of going my usual thief, black, white for what I would have done for my support to my fighter. Because I saw the black belt or the black mage with the tempering magic and the extra charges across the levels, and I heard the little dead pulse on my shoulder going, you don't need that thief, you can just take the extra spells, and then you don't need to worry about Topher, you can just dive toward Topher quick when you get there. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll listen to you, I hope you're right, and I'm not certain.
That was an imposter.
What'd you think of it, Dead Pulse?
Listen, you gotta. The thief is just too powerful with that. With the lockpicking.
That was.
I can see where you were going.
Yeah.
I can see exactly where you were going, and it could have worked out for you. It just didn't, and that's sad.
Yeah, it was. It was like it was such a good party for the last 5 minutes of the game, and it kind of sucked everyone else. The nuke was nice. I mean, but if the nuke hadn't been there, oh man, that I might have re-rolled into a thief. I gotta tell you, like if the spells at level 1 had been bad, I might have been going, was this a wise idea? So,
Well, what kind of advice do you have for some of the ducklings that are going to be running their first or early entrance town shuffle?
Well, so I heard you guys talking about it while I was watching the end of the stream. I have a spreadsheet that I keep up I made when I do co-op. So my partner and I can share the entrances and, if necessary, some of the floors beneath. You don't need to write down everything, but which is a lesson I had to learn because my first co-op tournament, I think we wrote every single floor across the rows, and that's too much. But I write down the entrances with my co-op partner so that it's useful, we know where everything is. So when I do entrance floor, entrance town, entrance floor town, whatever it is, I write down key locations. It used to be I'd write down every location and then mark them off, but like this one, I was finishing stuff early. I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother writing it down. If there's not an entrance, or if there's not something written at an entrance I know I've been to, and at this point I can remember that, then I just won't write it down and I'll know it's a dud location. I don't have to go back there. Just write down the key stuff. Essentially, like for something like this, you need to write notes to yourself up to the point where you no longer need those notes anymore. So, like when I was first doing it, I like to write down every floor. I needed to know what was there, especially on floor shuffle. I needed to know. And then eventually over time, I learned I don't need to know. I just need to know what's important. And then over time from there, what's important became a far smaller, shorter list at that point, you know? So
Yeah, I like that. Minimization.
yes, saved me time. I'm not the fastest at this game, and this seed notwithstanding was more awful than normal. I probably could have played it better with a different route. But like, I'm not the fastest at this game in general. I know where my hangups are, and a lot of it is in the reading comprehension. I get caught in menus. I get slowed down there, so I have to do things that I can do to speed up. Not checking a bunch of chests because they just weren't necessary here was great. Once I got that, the X-Cal early was hilarious, and then the Sun Sword after, I'm like, well, no matter what, my sword situation is fine. Promo or no promo, that Sun +5 with the tempers and fasts I have, it's just gonna happen. So you saw me for the most part at a certain point, I just stopped checking chests to save time. I tried to grab all the levels I could, walking grind, which Sky decided to screw me over on. That was delightful. The game just did not like me. But I try to get my levels by grinding to go as fast as possible, and then just writing down as few notes as I can while still keeping track of what's important. That speeds up gameplay for me. So and that all comes with practice, is figuring out where your strengths and weaknesses are, where you can skip stuff, where you can speed stuff up, so that if you have a weakness somewhere else, you can kind of make up for it at least a little. So, I think
a big call out in what you were just saying there is by minimizing what you write down, you're also minimizing what you have to read later.
Mm-hmm. God, my dyslexia is awful. So I'm really glad we have, and this is a shout out to the devs for putting this in. Thank you, all of you. Pink Puff, I think, was the one who coded this for me. But the accessible spell names is a lifesaver for me. I will not lie. Like, but in the past when it was, fast and fire and a couple of other F1s, I'd get lost looking for fast. I'd get lost looking for invis among all the other eyes and a bunch of other spells that are just key to this. So by alternating up what the names are with different starting letters, it's a lot easier for my brain to process. One less menu for me to get a little stuck in, although I still get stuck in the spell some. But yeah, knowing your weaknesses is important.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, let me tell you, Darkmoon, your finish tonight was good enough for 1 Racetown time point.
What? Whoa! I don't know where I'm going to spend that. Actually, legitimately, I didn't finish the fastest. I think I got beat by Platy by like 15 minutes. But for the makeup of the seed on an entrance and floor, and the amount of digging that I had to do, whether it was forced on me or not, it was the route I took. But I'm honestly pretty happy with a 117 finish, like especially after 3 or 4 stupid deaths the game threw at me. Like, you take your little wins, and 117 is a perfectly acceptable time for this for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it was a good race run, and I think we're good. Saracen, you got anything else?
I did just want to shout out the runners that we had in the race in total. So just a quick rundown again. We had Fryteeth, Ale, and Bert in our top 3. 4th place, Jesus the Frog, finishing at 1 hour, 1 minute, 20 seconds. Guardian Marcus, 1 hour, 3 minutes 25 seconds. The Dark Moon 6th overall, 1 hour 17:51, and Rob Draven at 1 hour 22 and 16 seconds. Did have one DNF. It was realized he pulled up the wrong seed. Whoops, that happens. That's why we always try to do a hash check in the race room. But yeah, most definitely, I think this was a great showing from both you and Bert in the restream. And for all the other runners, since we did have our stream requirement here, what I would ask of you is if you could post a link to your VOD in the Duck Bootcamp channel, just so that we have the availability for anybody who wants to check out how you routed things, how you made your decisions. I think that that's a great resource for everybody to take advantage of.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Saracen, I'll tell you what. Thank you for having me on here. You've done a great job with this Duckling Derby. Ducklings should be absolutely elated that they have someone like you guiding them through this.
Why, thank you for the kind words, sir.
And that's the last time I'm going to compliment you, so you better like it.
I'm sure I'll bribe another compliment out of you someday. But with that, I think it's probably time to let our ducks go, as we are now rolling. This is one of our longer reveals, I think, as we're almost a 1 hour and 40 minutes in. So with that, thank you so much for coming out here. Thank you for checking out the Platy Party. For our Platypi who were racing tonight, thank you for putting on the content for us here. And I hope you had a good time in our first of the 3 races for the Platy Party. With that, I think it is time to head out. Have a great night, everybody.